Want to get creeped out? I want to talk about someone else who tried the Three Kings ritual. For storytelling purposes, we will name these people Mike and Josh. Josh had a troubled childhood. He was always seeming to get into trouble, whether it was at school or at home or at a friend's house. He just had a knack for getting into trouble. The truth was that he was just a very hyper child who was busy, and at the time, no one really understood that there was something else at play, which was ADD for him. But because of his ADD, he did have a very hard time paying attention in school. And in his last year of high school, his parents and him were not getting along. Josh winds up moving across the country to go live with his mom's brother, which also includes his cousin Mike, who is the same age as him. When he moves in with Mike and his uncle and aunt, they all immediately let him know that the house is haunted. He initially laughs this and shrugs this off, thinking that they're not serious, but very quickly learns that they are serious. Doors would open and shut on their own, taps would be turned on and off, lights would be turned on and off, TVs would be turned on and off, radios would be turned on and off, and sometimes things would just fall off the counter out of nowhere when no one was in that room. In truth, Josh was terrified by this. He thought it was so creepy, so scary, but the rest of the family were just so nonchalant about it. They were so comfortable with it. He said he remembers asking his cousin Mike why one day, and he said,
"This is just always what it's been like here. Nothing's ever tried to hurt us. They're just noisy ghosts."
Now, jump to a couple of years later. Josh has actually stayed living with his aunt and uncle. He's doing better than ever. He was able to graduate from high school and he started college. He's grown accustomed to living in a haunted house and now even kind of likes it because he can impress friends and girls with this crazy haunted house that he lives in. Now, one evening, Mike and Josh are hanging out watching TV when Mike brings up the Three Kings ritual. Josh immediately decides that he wants to do it. He tells Mike,
"There is going to be some crazy shit that happens in this house if we do it, and I want to see what it is."
Mike at first is actually kind of apprehensive, which really shocks Josh. Josh says to him,
"You've lived in this haunted house your whole life, and you're not scared of it, so why would you be scared of this?"
And Mike tells him,
"This is my childhood home. I've grown up with this. I almost trust these ghosts. They feel almost comforting. I don't want to mess with that."
Josh lets it go, but a few days later, Josh and Mike are with both of their girlfriends and some of their friends, and Josh brings it up. He says,
"I really want to do this, but Mike doesn't want to partake."
At this point, Mike feels a little embarrassed and says,
"Totally, I will do this with you. I will be your loved one."
So the following weekend, they set up the 3 chairs, they set up the mirrors, the bucket of water, the mug, and the fan in the very old and dark basement. They make sure that the door to the basement is open and they go to bed at about 11:30 at night. At 3:30 a.m., Josh's alarm clock goes off, and he can hear in the room next to his that Mike's alarm clock has also just gone off. They both come out of their bedrooms at the same time, head down to the main floor, and Josh lights his candle. His power object is a really nice watch that his uncle gave to him. He opens the door to the basement, heads downstairs, and Mike closes the door behind him. And of course, this is where he should have aborted the mission. He doesn't realize that though, so he goes and sits in his throne, making sure not to look at the mirrors. In the far corner of the basement, there is a door to a bedroom that no one ever goes in or uses. He's only been sitting there for a few minutes when the light in that bedroom turns on. He can see the light from underneath the crack of the door. He's immediately a little bit excited, but this is nothing really that new to him because things like that happen in this house all the time. Then the light in the bedroom goes off. He sits there for a few more minutes, and all of a sudden, the light in the basement turns on. He says,
"Thanks a lot. You're going to ruin this for me. I want to do this ritual."
Thinking that he's, speaking to the ghosts. Then the light goes off again. He can hear footsteps upstairs, more than just one person. The lights come on again. He's thinking to himself,
"This ritual isn't going to work. I'm not going to be able to do it. The ghosts are going to ruin it."
The light goes off again, but this time he can tell it's the power in the house that went out, which also means the fan has stopped blowing. He holds his candle out in front of him and says,
Screw off.
And that's when he hears a scream from upstairs. He jumps out of his throne, starts running upstairs with his lit candle in his hand, which goes out as he runs up the stairs. He opens up the door, runs into the mudroom, runs into the kitchen, trying to figure out what's going on, but it's so dark. He remembers that his cell phone is in his pocket, so he grabs it, takes the flashlight, and turns it on. He's running through the house, trying to find out where the scream came from. He comes up towards the bottom of the stairs that go to the second floor, and his aunt is laying there unconscious. His uncle is crouching over her, trying to get her to wake up. He asks his uncle,
"Where's Mike?"
His uncle tells him,
"Mike is outside calling an ambulance."
Josh's aunt was okay. She had fainted, they said. But when she came to, she told the family that something had pushed her down the stairs. The entire family had gotten up, because the lights in the house weren't just going on and off in the basement. They were going on and off throughout the entire house. After his aunt got home, the paranormal activity in the house completely stopped. It was 3 weeks to the day, and his aunt and uncle were out at some kind of party, and him and Mike were at home watching TV. Mike went into the kitchen to grab a glass of water when all of the lights in the entire house went out. He then heard a voice.
"What comes next is because of you."
The paranormal activity came back full bore, and the family started to experience very scary things. His aunt started to wake up with scratches on her body that she had no clue where they had come from. His uncle had started sleepwalking and would find himself at different areas in the house, sometimes even in the basement. Mike had tripped more than once and said that it was because something had pushed him. Eventually, Josh moved home back in with his parents. He had a good job at this point and was able to start saving for a house of his own and nourish that relationship with his parents that he had been missing. The weirdest thing is that once he moved out of the house, the paranormal activity went back to the way it was before. Lights going on and off, doors opening and closing on their own, taps being turned on and off by themselves. But his aunt was no longer experiencing any attacks, his uncle was no longer sleepwalking, and his cousin Mike was no longer being tripped or pushed. In this house with his parents, he did not experience anything paranormal either. But Josh did share that he is constantly just waiting for something to happen, and he feels like when it does, it's not going to be good.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit that little bell if you want to be notified when a new video is posted.